Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I did not record my birth and delivery. Honestly, everything happened so fast and we were just so into the moment that we wanted to just take the time and be together and go through everything without having to record. So I'm going to explain to you guys my birth and delivery, the moment that it started till I actually gave birth and our baby girl came into this world. So let's get right into it. So I am going to give you guys the dates and the rough estimate of the times that everything happened. So everything started on July 12th in the evening. I lost my mucus plug, and I noticed that it was my mucus plug just because previous to that I was watching videos and I was trying to do my research how to prepare for labor. Since I'm a first time parent, I didn't really know what to expect. Since everybody's experience is so different, there's not a right way for your delivery to go. So I noticed that I lost my mucus plug because it was more like a jello texture and it had some blood in it. So I called the hospital that I was going to give birth in, and I told them that I think I lost my mucus plug, and I described how it looked like and vice versa. So they just recommended for me to wear a pad. So that's what I did. After July 12th at night, when I noticed that I lost my mucus plug, I started wearing a pad. And I was like, okay, that's the first sign that I'm going to go into labor soon. But they did say that it can be the next day, the next few days, even the next few weeks. So it doesn't really, it's kind of like a start of your labor, but it's not necessarily going to happen right away. So I was mentally prepare myself. Okay, I'm going to be giving birth soon, this is gonna happen. I already have my bags ready, they're already in the car, in case anything happens. Moving on to towards nighttime. One thing that I'm gonna mention, this is probably gonna be another video, but towards my end of the pregnancy, I did get pups. I'm not really sure what the whole definition is, but I'll go ahead and link it or write it on the screen. But I did get pups, which was honestly the worst thing I have ever gone through. Honestly, that is the worst experience that I wish that no other woman experiences during the pregnancy, because it's just horrible. It's horrible. But I did get pups towards my end of my pregnancy, and my skin or my body did not let me sleep at night. So I had to be taking Benadryl, I had cold showers at night, I had to pretty much just apply cold a wet cold cloth on my body so that I can relax. I did not sleep very much towards the end of my pregnancy. I kept on waking up in the middle of the night to do a cold compress on my body or to go to the restroom. July 13th, at 6:37 a.m. I got up to go to the restroom, and when I woke up, I felt my pad very heavy. It was very wet, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. So I got up, and as soon as I got up, this water just came dripping down. It felt like I was kind of peeing, but I wasn't peeing, if that makes sense. So I got out of my bed, I stood up, and the fluids just came down, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was standing there, I was like, oh my gosh, did my water break? And then I started walking a little bit towards the restroom, and the more I walked, the more liquids came, the more fluids came down. Luckily, the good thing was the fact that my husband, he was still in bed. He was gonna work that day because we didn't know when I was gonna give birth. So luckily, he was still in bed, and I woke him up. I was like, hey, I think my water broke. And he was like, what, what's going on? Are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I think my water broke. And he was like, oh shit. And I went to the restroom, and like, you know, obviously he came with me. I showed him. I was like, yeah, I think my water broke. So July 13th at 7 a.m. I would say that my water broke. And everything just happened like so fast after that. I called my hospital again, and I told them, hey, I think my water broke. It's a clear fluid. I explained what happened, and they're like, yeah, more likely your water broke. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's happening so soon. And they pretty much told me that when your water breaks, it's not necessarily like you're going into labor like immediately, just kind of how like they make it seem in the movies. And that's kind of something that I thought. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna go into labor like soon. The nurse on the phone, she explained to me that no, it's not like that. It's just one of the like signs, the near signs that you're gonna go into labor like very, very soon. But you know, it doesn't have to be like there in the moment, or it can take a couple hours or a couple days. She's like, honestly, like shower, eat something before you come here. Like there's no need to rush. You're okay. Like trust me and just take your time. Don't rush it. You know, that's it. I was like, okay. So I showered. My husband showered, and then he called his job saying, hey, like the baby's coming. Like I'm not going to work today. And after that, he didn't go back to work until like a couple weeks later. So that happened July 13th, like around 10:30 a.m. We got to the hospital. They needed to admit me, but they needed to make sure that my water did break. So I was in a room, and they had like a pad on the on like the bed, and they needed to make sure that my water broke. So I was there for a good hour, 2 hours, I want to say. And then they had like the belly monitor on me just to make sure the baby's heartbeat is okay and everything. So towards the end, they did see that my water did break, and they did my first dilation test. I don't think that's what it's called, but they did my first dilation test, and unfortunately I don't think I was dilated at all. My water broke, but that's it. I wasn't dilated, which kind of sucked. I didn't really feel like contractions. I felt like a little bit of pain, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, the horrible pain. So they admitted me just because my water broke, and I went into my delivery room, and I was there from, I want to say like 12. I was there from 12 and on. And they pretty much told me that I have to dilate. Since my water already broke, I just have to dilate, and then I'll have to start pushing. Trying to stimulate my dilation, or however you want to say it. I was trying, I was walking around the hospital. I was on the peanut ball. I was on the yoga ball. I was trying to walk. I was doing like all these crazy things. And it honestly sucked. I honestly did have like a mental breakdown at the hospital, because from 12 p.m. July 13th till I want to say like 7 p.m. the same day, I only dilated 1.5 centimeters, I think. And at that point, I was feeling the contractions. They weren't so close together. They were still far apart. But when I felt them, like, they were pretty strong. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, my body is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I was getting kind of frustrated, because at that moment, I feel like my body isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I'm not dilating. So how is this going to happen, you know? Since I wasn't dilating fast enough and my water already broke, the nurses and my midwife suggested that I get the Pitocin. So I got the Pitocin like around 8 p.m. on July 13th. And let me tell you, the Pitocin worked. Like, it worked. So after that, my pain was from like a 2, it went all the way up to like 100 really quick, because that was honestly crazy. After my Pitocin, my contractions, they were so consistent. My contractions were really, really consistent, and the pain was real. let me tell you, the pain was crazy. And they always told me that I can request the epidural whenever I wanted, if I wanted the epidural. And in my case, yes, I did want the epidural. Personally, I've seen videos and I've heard stories that the epidural delays your labor, which in this case, the nurse told me that if I do get the epidural, that is not true, that it's a myth, that it does not delay your labor. But I honestly did not want to take my chances, just because I did feel the pain, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to delay this. I don't want to keep on feeling this pain, or I don't want to delay my birth. That was my thing. I don't want to delay my birth, so just to be safe, I'm gonna suck up the pain for a little bit, and then eventually when I can't handle it anymore, I'm going to get the epidural. And all that night, I kid you not, I did not sleep one bit because of how painful it was. It was like a weird feeling that I can't really describe. It pretty much feels like cramps, but times 1,000, I want to say. At 5 a.m. July 14th is when I decided to get my epidural because I cannot handle it anymore. Honestly, the epidural was such like a bad experience for me, just because while I was having these strong contractions and my back was aching, I was getting these contractions, I was uncomfortable, I was cold, I was just not in my zone, I was not comfortable at all. They told me to sit on the edge of the bed, crisscross, and arc my back. So pretty much like go like this while they put the epidural in, and they're telling you not to move. So I'm over here cold, I'm shaking, I'm having contractions, I'm uncomfortable, I'm in pain, in so much pain. I was having contractions back to back, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't do it. And they told me to sit like crisscross on the edge of the bed. That was honestly the worst thing ever, the worst feeling ever. I was like forced to be like in that position for like a little while. And it's crazy because the person who was putting the epidural on my back, I don't know if she couldn't find like a certain position or a certain like spot to like put it in, but she had to call someone because she was having trouble with it. So I had to be in a certain position for a longer period of time because she didn't really know what she was doing, I think. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing ever. And then after, I want to say like a couple minutes, like maybe like 5-10 minutes, my pain started to ease out, and I felt a little bit more relaxed, and I was able to actually sleep. So from 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. for the whole night, I slept for like 3 hours. When they put the epidural on me, I felt like this like shock, this like electric shock on my left side, which was really uncomfortable, and it kind of hurt. It was a little painful. And then leading till July 13th at 8 a.m. that is when my nurse came in, and she was like, okay, let's check how much dilated you are. Mind you that my last checkup was on the previous day, like around 7 p.m. Since I wasn't dilated enough, they gave me the Pitocin. So like crossing my fingers to at least be like 8 centimeters dilated, at least, or like 6 to 8. The midwife checked me. She was like, oh my gosh, like that. She was like, oh my gosh, you're fully dilated. I was like, what? Are you serious? Like, I'm fully dilated? And she was like, yeah. She's like, we're gonna start pushing in 10 minutes. And I look at my husband, and we're like, oh my goodness, like it's coming, like the baby's coming, you know? It was like a crazy moment for me, and I was happy that I fully dilated. Honestly, I think that the pain really paid off, but I'm also glad that I did get the epidural, because props to those moms who don't do it with the epidural or any medication, because I could never. But prop to you guys. July 14th around 8:30 a.m. that's when I first started pushing for about like 2.5 hours. Pushing, I think they realized that my baby's head, since it was head down, I think her head was sideways, or she was looking in some sideways directions, and she was just supposed to be looking down, facing my back. And they made me turn on my side, put my leg up, and push that way, because I guess the way that she turned, and that wasn't really working. And I think they tried to like turn her like inside of me, and yeah, it was honestly like pretty crazy. They tried to turn her and I don't think she turned, so we had to wait a little bit. We tried different things. One of the nurses brought like this pole, put my legs on top of the pole so that I can, you know, push more, like I can push better. It took me a little while to push, and during my delivery I ended up getting a fever and an infection as well. So they kept on giving me like antibiotics, they kept on giving me different types of things to help me. I was cold and I was shaking, and they said that it was due to the fever, and it's just a reaction that your body does, or your body goes through when you're giving birth, so it's normal apparently. 2.5 hours later, at 10:53 a.m., my beautiful baby girl came into this world. Baby girl weighed 6 pounds 7 ounces, and she was about, I believe, like 19 and a half inches long. Of the day, I believe they told me that I had like a 2nd degree tear, and they just like sewed me up and I was all good. Birth and delivery, I feel like my epidural wasn't strong enough. I don't know if that's just me, but I was able to feel like everything that was going on down there. I wouldn't say I felt pain, but I do want to say that I was able to feel everything and I wasn't completely numb. I feel like I was able to like move my legs a little bit and feel what was going on between, or from like my waist down. So yeah, I'm not sure if like the dose wasn't high enough. Every hour like the epidural like goes in, so I don't have to be like pressing the button, and there wasn't a button for me to press. So I think they were the ones that programmed it for every hour for it to like go into my body. After they did everything, all the procedures, they pretty much wheeled me into my recovery room. So we were there overall throughout everything. We were there from Tuesday, July 13th till Friday. And it felt like a really long time. Towards like the 2nd, 3rd night, we were like, okay, like we're ready to go home, because we were like so fed up with being at the hospital. But honestly, like that whole time that we were there, I'm so thankful that the nurses were so helpful. They helped us with everything because they knew that we were first-time parents. So it was honestly like really helpful to be there. I feel like if we were only there for like a day or two, like we would have been pretty clueless. We didn't really get much sleep at all. I didn't get much sleep at all because every like 2 to 3 hours, my nurse kept on coming in to check on me, to check on the baby, on the fluids, on everything. I'm glad that I gave birth at the hospital that I gave birth at. It was like 25 minutes away from us, and it wasn't like too bad. But I'm glad I gave birth there. I'm glad that I had the nurses that I had. Everything was honestly so smooth, and even the food that we got from the hospital, it was actually pretty good. Like it wasn't like bad cafeteria food, so it was pretty good. I'm just really thankful that the hospital was so caring and they were so patient. It shows that they care. So I'm just really like, after my birth, I still had my pups for about like 2 weeks, which kind of sucked. But it eventually went away, and it kind of sucks because it kind of left like some scars on my legs and on my body because of how much I was scratching. But then again, that can be for a different video if you guys want. Honestly, I feel like there's not a lot of people that talk about pups. Like a lot of people get it, but honestly it is something real, and it honestly is the worst thing ever. I want to say it's the worst thing ever. This is my birth and delivery explanation. I did not record. Obviously not everybody's experience is going to be the same as mine, but I do want to share my story just to you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.